You ever see your entire future blow up in 5 seconds? That's what happened when I saw her kiss him, my fiancé, at my own engagement party. And the worst part, it wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Stick with me while I share my story, and if it touches you, don't forget to support our channel by hitting that subscribe button, dropping a like, and sharing it with the people you care about. My name is Brielle. I'm 28 years old, and I work as a nurse. Life isn't perfect, but I've always tried to be kind, loving, and loyal. For the past 2 years, I've been engaged to Logan. He's smart, sweet, and works as a software developer. We met at a coffee shop, fell hard, and before I knew it, he was down on one knee asking me to marry him. I said yes, with tears in my eyes. Logan was everything I thought I wanted. And Kaylin, my best friend for 12 years, was always by my side through the ups and downs. She was the kind of friend who'd sleep on my couch after breakups and bring me soup when I was sick. I trusted her with everything. So when Logan and I planned our engagement party, of course Kaylin was on the guest list. I wanted everyone I loved in one room. My parents were there, Logan's family too, my co-workers, our friends, and Kaylin, in a pale pink dress, smiling like she always did. Everything was perfect, or so I thought. Sometime during the party, I stepped outside to catch my breath. The noise and the lights felt overwhelming, and I just needed a second. That's when I noticed the side garden lights were on. I walked toward them slowly, wondering who was back there. Maybe someone was sneaking a cigarette, and then I saw it. Kaylin, Logan, alone, their bodies close, and then, without hesitation, they kissed. Not a quick kiss, not an accidental brush, a kiss full of heat, like they'd done it before. My heart stopped. I stood frozen, unable to breathe. The man I was going to marry, the friend I loved like a sister. I wanted to scream, to run, to tear the whole place down, but I didn't. Instead, I backed away quietly, hands shaking. I remembered the security cameras I'd installed last week, just to make sure we captured sweet memories from the party. Suddenly, those cameras were more than memories, they were evidence. I went inside, smiled like nothing happened, and played the role of a happy bride-to-be. But inside, I was burning. That kiss didn't just break my heart, it lit a fire inside me I never knew I had. They thought I didn't see, but I did, and I was going to make sure they both remembered this night forever. I didn't say a word that night. I smiled, I danced, I laughed at toasts. I hugged Kaylin and kissed Logan like nothing was wrong. If they noticed anything off, they didn't show it. Maybe they thought I was too in love to ever question them. Maybe they thought I'd never find out. But the truth sat heavy in my chest, like a stone I couldn't swallow. Over the next few days, I replayed everything, every little moment between them. The way Kaylin always hugged Logan just a little longer than necessary. How Logan used to glance at her when he thought I wasn't looking. The times Kaylin suddenly had emergencies and couldn't make our girls' nights, only to later mention something that Logan had told her, something I hadn't even shared yet. It was all there. I just hadn't wanted to see it. I started digging, quietly, carefully. I went through old texts, photos, social media posts. I noticed Kaylin had liked almost every one of Logan's pictures, even the old ones I hadn't liked myself. One photo from a work event showed them standing too close. In another, she commented, "My favorite guy," with a winky face. And then, I saw it. An old message from Kaylin, sent late one night, hidden deep in our chat history. "You really picked a good one," she'd written. "He's almost too good to share." That's when I knew. It wasn't just a kiss. It was a full-blown affair, and it wasn't new. It had been going on for months, maybe longer. But here's the part that cut even deeper. Kaylin was married. Derek, her husband, was one of the kindest men I'd ever met. He worked as a mechanic, always had grease on his hands, and a soft spot for Kaylin. He adored her, and she betrayed him too. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I had the footage from the engagement party backed up on my home computer. I copied it to a flash drive. As I held that flash drive in my hand, I felt strangely calm. I wasn't just a woman scorned. I was a woman with a plan. They thought I didn't know, but I did, and I was ready to make them both regret it. A week after the engagement party, I heard through a mutual friend that Kaylin and Derek were planning a weekend getaway for their anniversary, 5 years of marriage. A little cabin up in the mountains. Cute, right? I almost laughed when I heard it. She was celebrating her marriage with one man while sneaking around with mine. That's when the idea came to me. Not out of pettiness, but out of clarity. If they wanted to play happy couple, I'd let them, for one last time. I sent Kaylin a message. Dinner at my place before you two leave? Just a little send-off. My treat. She responded with heart emojis and a, "You're the sweetest." That almost made me gag, but I kept smiling, on the outside anyway. Logan looked at me weird when I told him Kaylin and Derek were coming over. "Since when do you do fancy dinners for other people's anniversaries?" he asked. I shrugged. "They've been good to us. It's the least we can do." He nodded slowly, but I saw the flicker of worry in his eyes. He was starting to feel it. Good. I spent the whole day prepping. Cooked Derek's favorite, grilled steak with rosemary butter. I even made Kaylin's favorite dessert, tiramisu. I lit candles, played soft jazz, poured good wine. The house smelled like heaven, and I looked like I didn't have a single care in the world. When they walked in, I greeted them with hugs and cheerful small talk. Logan stayed tense, but Kaylin, she was glowing, wearing a silk blouse and laughing like she hadn't wrecked 2 relationships. Dinner was smooth, too smooth. I told stories, toasted their love, complimented Kaylin's hair. Derek looked so happy, like he didn't have a clue that the woman holding his hand was also kissing another man in secret. Logan barely touched his food. He kept glancing at me, trying to read my face. I gave him nothing, just smile after smile, like everything was perfectly in place. At one point, I caught Kaylin watching me a little too closely. Maybe she felt it, the stillness under my smile, the edge beneath my voice, but she said nothing. As they finished their wine, I said, "I have a little gift for you two, something special before your trip." Kaylin's smile froze for half a second. Logan's hand tightened around his glass, but I just laughed and said, "You'll love it, I promise." And deep down, I meant every word. After dinner, I asked Derek to help me grab the gift from the other room. He followed me, still smiling, clearly touched by the whole evening. That made it hurt even more. I handed him a small silver flash drive. "It's just a little something I put together," I said softly. "A memory for your anniversary trip." He looked surprised but grateful. "You really didn't have to," he said. I gave a small smile. "I wanted to. You both deserve the truth. I mean, something meaningful." Back in the living room, I handed him the remote and pointed to the TV. "Go ahead, plug it in. Let's watch it together." Kaylin's laugh came out shaky. "You're being so dramatic, Brielle," she said, her voice a little too high. I walked over, hugged her gently, and whispered, "You'll love it." She didn't respond, just stared at me like she suddenly didn't recognize who I was. Derek connected the drive to the TV and hit play. The room went silent as the screen came to life. It was a clip from the party. The camera, clear and steady, showed the garden bathed in soft lights. Then Kaylin appeared, and Logan. They looked around, thinking no one was watching. And then they kissed. Deep, long, full of hunger. Not just a drunken slip. A kiss that had history. The kind of kiss that didn't belong to strangers. Kaylin gasped and jumped up. "Brielle, don't," I said quietly, eyes locked on the screen. Derek sat frozen. He didn't even blink. His face drained of all color. Slowly, he turned his head toward Kaylin. "How long?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Kaylin stuttered, reaching for him. "It was nothing, it just happened." "Don't lie," I cut in sharply. "You've been doing that enough." Logan stood silently. He didn't try to defend himself. He just stared at me with this numb, hollow look. I picked up my wineglass and took a slow sip. "Happy anniversary," I said, not even looking at Kaylin. The video stopped. The silence felt like thunder, and that was when everything truly fell apart. Derek didn't say a word. He stood up so suddenly that the chair scraped hard against the floor. Kaylin ran after him, shouting his name. "Derek, wait! Please! I can explain!" He didn't wait. He slammed the door behind him so hard the walls shook. Kaylin froze by the door, sobbing. "Brielle, why would you do this? Why now?" I stood calmly, still holding my wineglass. "You two did this. I just showed it." Logan finally spoke up, stepping toward me. "Brielle, listen. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I was drunk, confused, and..." I let out a laugh so sharp it cut through the room. "Drunk? Confused? That's funny. You looked pretty clear when you kissed her like she was yours." He frowned. "It only happened once. I swear. Don't lie," I said coldly. "You've been sneaking around with her for months. I saw the messages, the late-night meetups. You weren't hiding it very well. You were just hoping I'd never look." Kaylin sank onto the couch, covering her face. "We didn't mean for it to go this far. You were at my engagement party," I snapped. "You kissed my fiancé in my backyard while drinking my champagne. So don't tell me what you meant to do." Logan reached out. "Can we please talk in private?" I shook my head. "There's nothing left to talk about." That night, I drove back to our apartment with Logan, following behind like a lost dog. When we walked inside, he tried again. Can we just hit reset? People make mistakes. We can work through this. I said nothing. Instead, I grabbed a suitcase, yanked it from the closet, and started packing his things. Shoes, clothes, laptop. I threw it all in without folding. He just stood there watching, stunned. When I was done, I opened the front door and pointed. Out. Seriously? He asked, voice cracking. You made your choice, I said. Now, deal with the consequences. I closed the door behind him and locked it. My phone didn't stop buzzing that night. Logan, Kaylin, unknown numbers. Text after text. Some were apologies. Some were desperate pleas. A few were pathetic excuses. I didn't reply. I curled up on the couch in silence, wrapped in a blanket, listening to the buzz of my phone without touching it. For the first time in a long time, I chose peace over pretending. Kaylin showed up at my work 2 days later, red-eyed and shaking. She stood in the waiting area sobbing, holding a crumpled tissue and begging to talk. Patients and nurses stared as she cried, "Please, Brielle, just give me 5 minutes." I didn't. I walked straight to security and calmly said, "She's not a patient. She's disturbing the floor." A few minutes later, they gently walked her out. She looked back at me like I was the villain. I didn't care. That was her story to rewrite, not mine. The next day, Logan found me at the gym. I was mid-workout when I saw him standing by the water fountain like some sad ghost from my past. "Brielle," he said softly, "I just want to talk, please." I didn't even pause. I walked right past him, looked him in the eyes, and said, "That part of my life died. So did you." Then I put my headphones back in and kept going. Derek vanished for a while. I texted him once, just to check in, but got no reply. I understood. Some wounds need silence. I hoped he was somewhere far away, breathing fresh air, finding peace. Meanwhile, Kaylin unraveled. Word got around fast. Our mutual friends chose sides. She lost friends, lost respect, and from what I heard, Derek hadn't even returned home. She called me again and again. I never picked up. The quiet that followed felt strange. My phone stopped buzzing. No more lies, no more fake smiles. Just me, sitting with everything I'd held in for too long. That's when I started therapy. My therapist was kind, but honest. On our 3rd session, she asked, "Why didn't you say anything sooner? Why not confront them right away?" I stared at the wall for a moment, then answered, "Because I wanted them to feel safe. I wanted them to think they got away with it, just for a little while. I wanted them relaxed, smiling, believing everything was fine. Right before I took it all away." The words surprised even me, but they were true. I didn't want drama. I wanted justice, and I got it. I hadn't cried in days. Not really. I thought I was past it. But when I walked into my parents' house and saw my mum standing there with open arms, I crumbled. I dropped my bag, fell into her arms, and sobbed. Big, shaking, ugly tears. My dad stood quietly by the door, unsure what to do, while my mum held me like I was a little girl again. I told them everything. Not just the kiss, not just the video, but the whole weight of it. The quiet pain, the pretending, the heartbreak, the rage. My mum didn't try to fix it. She just said, "This kind of betrayal isn't something you just get over. You outgrow it." It stayed with me, those words. I wasn't broken. I was growing past it. When I got back to my apartment, Logan was waiting outside. Again, he looked like a man unraveling, messy hair, dark circles under his eyes, and a desperate look that made my stomach turn. "Please," he said, his voice cracking. "Just talk to me. Just give me 5 minutes. I made a mistake. I was confused. I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I looked at him and felt nothing. "No," I said quietly. "I'm not doing this again. We're done." Then I turned and walked past him without waiting for a reply. That was the last time I saw him. After that, something shifted in me. I stopped replaying everything in my head. I started going out again, not partying, just being human. I met up with some old college friends, laughed until I cried at dinner, and remembered who I was before Logan and Kaylin made my life feel like a bad dream. I changed my number. I deleted photos. I started over, one little piece at a time. Then, one morning, I found something in my mailbox, a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a small thank you card, no message, no explanation, just 2 words, "For everything." I didn't need a signature to know who it was from. Derek. I held the card to my chest for a moment, feeling something deep and quiet stir in me. Not love, not hope, just peace. He understood. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled, not because I was over it, but because I was finally free. Kaylin showed up outside my building again, this time dressed neatly, no tears, just a pitiful smile. She asked if we could talk, woman to woman, she said. Against every instinct in me, I agreed. We met at a quiet cafe nearby. She sat across from me, fidgeting with her necklace, eyes glossy but dry. She started to speak, but I stopped her. I leaned forward and said calmly, "You're not a woman, you're a weapon. And the worst part is, you aimed at someone who loved you." Her mouth opened slightly, like she didn't expect that. I stood up, left my untouched coffee on the table, and walked away. She didn't follow me. She knew there was nothing else to say. Later that week, Logan reached out again, this time through one of my friends. He said he wanted to try again, that he realized everything now, that Kaylin was a mistake, that what we had was real, and he'd do anything to get it back. He came by my apartment, uninvited as usual. I let him speak. "I was confused," he said. "It was a temporary lapse, okay? I lost sight of what really mattered." I stared at him for a long moment, and then I said it, quiet, steady, and final. "You were the love of my life, Logan. I gave you everything, my heart, my trust, my future, until I saw you kiss her. Now you're just another lie I told myself was safe." He tried to protest, to hold on to some shred of what we were, but I didn't let him. I closed the door. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I didn't even feel hollow anymore, because I realized this wasn't the end of something. It was the start of something better, something mine. 1 year later, everything looked different. I'd moved out of that apartment. Too many memories in the walls. I found a new place in a new city, closer to the mountains where the air felt lighter. I took a new job at a private clinic. The hours were longer, but the people were kind. The work made sense again. Life felt quieter, more mine. My phone buzzed on a Friday night. I was just back from a hike, hair messy, feet sore. I didn't recognize the number, but something told me to answer. "Brielle," a familiar voice asked. I froze. "Derek," he chuckled softly. "Yeah, hi. Sorry, didn't mean to surprise you." I sank into my couch. It's good to hear from you." We ended up talking for over 3 hours. It was like catching up with an old friend, except with this strange bond, like we'd both survived the same storm. He told me he'd finally left Kaylin, that after everything fell apart, she kept begging, making promises, spinning stories, but he'd seen enough. He filed for divorce 6 months ago and was officially single now. "She kept saying it was a mistake," he said quietly, "but mistakes don't last for months. That was a choice, and I chose to walk away." I smiled, more proud of him than I could put into words. "I'm really glad you called," I said. "I wasn't sure if I should," he replied, "but I never forgot what you did. You didn't just expose the truth. You gave me my dignity back." I felt tears prick my eyes. "You didn't owe me anything, Derek. I just wanted the truth out." There was a pause on the line. Then he said, "Still, thank you for everything." After we hung up, I sat by the window, watching the lights outside flicker like stars had fallen to earth. I realized how far I'd come. From the night I saw them kiss to the night I exposed them, to the months of silence, pain, healing. I wasn't the same woman anymore. I wasn't waiting for closure. I wasn't hoping for an apology. I had rebuilt my life from the ashes, and every day I made peace with it a little more. And now, hearing Derek's voice again, I knew something else. Sometimes the people who get hurt the worst end up becoming the strongest, and sometimes the ones who were collateral damage become the survivors who rise. I was just grabbing oat milk and cereal when I saw her, Kaylin. She stood near the fruit aisle, looking at a bruised apple like the weight of the world was in her hands. Her hair was messy, no makeup, just a pale, tired face that barely looked like the woman I once called my best friend. She glanced up. Our eyes met. Neither of us said a word. No wave, no smile, no apology, just silence. And then I turned and walked away, because I had nothing left to give her, not even anger. A week later, Derek and I met for coffee. We picked a quiet little shop, the kind with soft jazz playing and sunlight spilling through the windows. He smiled when he saw me. We hugged, sat, talked. It wasn't romantic, not yet. There were no grand gestures or flirty lines, just peace. We talked about work, books, hiking. He told me he'd started painting again, something he hadn't done in years. I told him I'd joined a pottery class. We laughed a little. It felt normal, safe. At one point, he looked at me and said, "You really seem lighter." I smiled. "I am." He nodded. "Me too." We didn't talk about Kaylin or Logan, not directly, We didn't need to. The past was behind us. And what mattered now was how far we'd come from it. As I walked back home that evening, I realized something. I didn't get the fairy tale ending. There were no wedding bells, no perfect closure, no neat bow tying everything up. But what I did get was better. I got freedom. I got truth. I got the strength to start over. And I got revenge. The kind that wasn't loud or cruel, but quiet and sharp, like justice whispered in the right ears at the right time. Logan lost the woman who loved him. Kaylin lost her home, her marriage, her lies. And I found myself. This wasn't the ending I once dreamed of, but it was a new beginning, and it was finally mine. Do you think Brielle made the right choice by walking away from both Kaylin and Logan, or should she have given forgiveness a chance? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if stories like this speak to you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next chapter.